Hey boys and girls, it's me, Mrs. Ziegler again. I'm here to present you guys to Lesson 9. So in Lesson 9, I want to start with our review, of course. So we've already read Chapter 19 of My Louisiana Sky. In Chapter 19, we learned a lot about Tiger and her mom's relationship. I really love that chapter. In this chapter, we learned that Tiger's mom risked her own well-being so that she could go out and find Tiger once the hurricane hit and hit really hard. We also learned how the weather began to change drastically. It went from a whisper to all of the sudden, as Tiger described it, to a howl. She also talked about how the trees danced and how the rain poured from the sky instead of just saying that it was raining. We also learned how to use transitional phrases, which are used to help our writing appear more, easier to read. It helps us transition and go from one point to the next. And we also learned about the events that led up to the hurricane. Today, we are going to read Chapter 20 of My Louisiana Sky. We are also going to work together to determine how Tiger has changed from the beginning of the novel to the end of the novel. For this assignment, you guys will need a copy of My Louisiana Sky, a character change chart, and also your reading log. So we're going to begin with our reading, of course, and I hope that I provided you guys with enough information to kind of recall what we read before so that you can understand what's happening now. So we know that Tiger has made it in with her mom. They're safely inside the house, and we're going to listen to the audio. We're also going to think about how Tiger has changed from the beginning of the novel, and we're going to record these ideas and the details on our character change chart. So I want you guys to think about how Tiger was at the beginning of the story. Think about that information that we learned. We learned in the beginning of the novel in chapters 1 and 2 that Tiger was eager to leave Seder. She loved Seder, don't get me wrong, but she also felt like it was nothing wrong with going and visiting other places, particularly Baton Rouge. We also learned that Tiger was a little embarrassed by her family dynamic. She really didn't relate a lot to her mom and her dad, and so she kind of clinged onto her aunt. It said that she wanted to dive into her aunt's voice and just rest there because she liked that calmness of what she experienced around her aunt. So we're going to learn in chapter 20 how her character has changed, how some of those events and things that we discussed in those chapters has kind of taken another toll for Tiger. All right, we're going to listen to the same audio that we listened to with the previous chapters. Like I said, this narrator does a really good job of changing his tone so that you guys can relate to the characters and imagine how these particular characters may have sounded. So I'm going to pull that audio up so that you guys can listen to him. While he's reading to you guys, I want you to focus on what you're listening to. Try to visualize the text, of course, and imagine this story in your head. All right, let's get it pulled up.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Daniels here. We have finished our Odyssey through My Louisiana Sky. This is the final chapter. Chapter 20, the aftermath of the hurricane scene, the exciting climax in chapter 19. Here we go into chapter 20. Let's just go ahead and get started here and wrap this up. The summer sun soaked up every trace of rain that Hurricane Audrey brought, but she left her mark anyway. Electricity poles were down, and uprooted trees lay scattered on everyone's yards. Miss Eula's front porch was completely swept away, but that gave her tongue something new to wag about for a while. Our parish lost one life in the hurricane, but Karen Parish lost hundreds. The fact that Seder did without electricity for a couple weeks and had a lot of cleaning up to do seemed like a speck compared to what the people in Cameron went through. The floods came up on them so quick that one man got to the roof of his office building and saw his family float past him. Our church decided to donate the new piano fund to the church in Cameron. Even Sister Margaret said, "It's the Christian thing to do." Fall arrived in Seder like welcome spring. and everyone talked about the upcoming party Mr. Thompson was giving to the Louisiana lady. The whole town was ready to burst by the time Camellia Buds opened. Even Aunt Dora Kay came up for the big event. It was the first time I'd seen her since she took Magnolia back to Baton Rouge. She'd been downright shocked when I told her I wanted to stay in Sada. The day before she left with Magnolia, we walked down to Sada Creek and I broke the news. Aunt Dora Kay frowned. But you'll be expected to keep an eye on your mama and take care of your household. I know, I answered. Two tiny lines formed between her brows and she straightened her shoulders like she was trying to make herself taller. Well, life won't be easy, she snapped. I guess I'll take it one step at a time. When I said that, Aunt Dora Kay shook her head and held my chin for a long moment while her eyes grew misty. Finally, she said, Tiger, you've gone and grown up on me. Aunt Dora Kay brought a new boyfriend, Kurt, to the Thompsons' party. They rode from Baton Rouge in a shiny blue Thunderbird. He sure was nice, but his fish lips and curly blonde hair, he didn't look a thing like Elvis. A reporter from the Alexandria paper came to the Thompsons' nursery for the party. He wanted to write an article about the Louisiana lady, but his attention turned to Daddy when Mr. Thompson told him about Daddy saving the camellias before the hurricane hit. The reporter tilted back his hat and rubbed his chin with the tip of his ink pen. So you knew when Hurricane Audrey was coming before she hit? Well, Daddy said, I didn't rightly know it was a hurricane coming. I just knew something was going to happen because them birds, they've been sitting in our trees all night carrying on. Them birds knew before anyone. The way I figured it, they was sitting in the tree trying to figure out which way to go. You know, like when you got a hankering to go somewhere, but you don't know where. Anyway, I told Miss Thompson that we better take care of them Louisiana ladies before we regret it, on account of all the work Mr. Thompson did. You know, he's worked on this flower for eight long years. He had the idea way back then, and the reporter interrupted. Oh, getting back to those birds, is that how you predict the weather? Well, I don't know if you can call it real predicting. I'm just doing what my daddy taught me. He always said, if you listen close enough, the earth talks to you. When the photographer stayed to take Daddy's pictures next to the camellia, Daddy said, oh, it wouldn't be right without Mr. Thompson. After all, he's the one who invented the Louisiana lady. So the reporter motioned Mr. Thompson into the shop. Then Daddy cleared his throat and said, it wasn't like I didn't have any help that day. I couldn't have done it without Miss Thompson and my daughter Tiger and Jessie Wade, and of course all the other fellows that work in the nursery. There we all stood like a big crowd waiting for a parade to march while the photographer's camera flashed. I saw blue dots the whole day. After the newspaper reporter and photographer left, we ate dinner on quilts spread by the Thompsons' yard. Mama looked like a pretty sunflower in the yellow dress she had made. She and Aunt Dora Kay sat side by side, both of them barefooted, drinking from mason jars filled with Mama's extra sweet lemonade. Kurt squatted in front of them to take their picture. Right before he said, say cheese, Mama slipped her arm around Aunt Dora Kay like it was the most natural thing to do. I felt something catching my throat, and I was relieved when Jessie Wade ran up to me and said, come on, let's play ball. It was just like old times, only better. This time Dolly, Annette, and Jackie trotted over the ball field. Abby Ling sat glued to her mama's side. I discovered hurricanes weren't the only thing Abby Lynn and his feared. When school started, she refused to dress out and play baseball in gym class until Coach Masters gave her a direct order. That day, when she was up at bat, the kids laughed at her clumsy swings. I reckon Reckon that was why Abby Lynn hadn't wanted to play ball all along. She was afraid of making a fool of herself. On my way to the field, I moseyed over to Abby Lynn and asked, "Why don't you come play ball with us?" She batted her eyelashes. "Oh, that's okay. I'd rather stay here." Mrs. Anders nudged her shoulder into Abby Lynn's. "Oh, go on, honey. It'll do you some good." Abby Lynn frowned at me, but she stood, brushed off her bottom, and followed me out onto the field. When I looked at her, I recognized something in her face. The "I wish I was invisible" look. I didn't know what came over me. I don't know whether it was the puffed-up pride that I had for Daddy about saving the camellias, or the way Mama's arms surrounded Dora Kay's shoulders, or just the way the sunshine felt good soaking on my back. But for some reason, I felt kind of charitable toward Abby Lynn Anders. "Abby Lynn," I whispered, "I'm the catcher, so when you get up to bat, listen for my voice." She scrunched up her face at me, and I shrugged, thinking, oh well. But when her name was called, she got up at home plate to bat. She looked over her shoulder at me. When Bobby Dean pitched his show-off fastball, I watched it spin toward Abby Lynn and waited for the exact moment to say, "Swing!" Abby Lynn swung the bat and knocked the ball to the ground about 3 feet in front of her, just as Jesse Wade sent me a puzzled look. He was playing shortstop, but he didn't move to the ball like usual. He probably thought there was no reason, since Abby Lynn just stood there. She must have thought her hit wasn't any good, since the ball only traveled a puny distance. So
All right, you guys, we're going to pause there. Because of time, we're not going to be able to listen to the entire chapter, but the chapter ends with Abby Lynn and Tiger sort of becoming friends, which is a big character change for Tiger, because at the beginning of the story, we know that her and Abby Lynn did not get along at all. They barely even spoke to each other. And we know that Abby Lynn was sort of a bully to Tiger. Tiger was embarrassed to do certain things in front of Abby Lynn. All right, you guys, we're going to pick back up with our lesson from here. All right, so we've listened to chapter 20. You guys should have been thinking about how Tiger has changed from the beginning of the novel to the end of the novel. Think about some of the things that have changed around Tiger, also those events, because those events will help you understand that change that Tiger went through. You guys should have been recording these ideas and some of the details onto your sheet of paper. All right, now I want us to discuss. So from that story, we have an excerpt, which we know is just a small portion of the text that's been pulled out for us to examine closely. We're going to read that excerpt, and then we're going to look at these questions over here to the side. So the excerpt says, "As I looked to the tall pine reaching towards my Louisiana sky, I reckoned that maybe that's the way life is supposed to be. Some days are like Cedar Creek, smooth and calm, letting you stay a child a little longer, and others are like Hurricane Audrey, taking hold of you and spinning you above the pines, making you grow up a little quicker, kind of like cutting your hair on a full moon day." So once again, we're going to talk about comparisons. The question says, what is being compared in this excerpt from My Louisiana Sky and why? So this is going to pull us back to some of their prior knowledge, the things that we've learned before. So we know that when two things are being compared by the author in the story, this is the author's way of using what? You guys remember what it's called? Transitional phrases, perhaps? No. We also talked about main ideas and events. Do you think that's what the author was trying to use here? No. How about figurative language? Do you guys remember us learning about figurative language in the first two lessons that we discussed together? If you guessed figurative language, that's great. We know that figurative language is a way for an author to present his ideas even better, to create a vivid image in your mind of what he is discussing. And so that is what's being used in this excerpt, figurative language. And this figurative language, the author is making a comparison. Do we see the words like or as in the comparison that the author is making? Nope, not with that particular comparison. So he's probably not using a simile. What was the other comparison that we learned about as far as figurative language is concerned? If you guys said metaphor, great job. He is making a comparison using a metaphor. All right, so what two things are being compared? Well, she's comparing Cedar Creek and Hurricane Audrey. And in that comparison, she is comparing how life in some days in life can be like Cedar Creek. They can be calm and soothing, and they can allow you to remain a child. And then she compares that to other days being like Hurricane Audrey, where it spins you around above all of the pines and it forces you to become an adult. At what point in this story did Tiger have to put away being a child so that she could be in a position to be an adult? If you guys said when she went into the woods to search for her mom, then that's a great job. So that's the comparison that is being made. What does Tiger learn about life based on her experiences in the hurricane? In this excerpt, she talks about how certain situations will force you into a position that you may not want to be in. Tiger wanted to remain a child. She didn't want to be put in a position where she had to do things that adults do. Look for her mom, take care of her mom, make sure that her mom made it back home safely after the hurricane. But some days are like that. Some days you just have to be put in a position that you don't really feel comfortable being in. And that's what Tiger had to do. And so the hurricane helped us understand her experience and her life. All right, we're going to look at that same excerpt. You guys are asked to write your answers to the following questions in your reading log. What is a theme of My Louisiana Sky? How do you know? And of course, we always have to support our answers with evidence from the passage. So let's back up for 1 second. I want us to look at this word theme. Do you guys remember what a theme is? A theme is the message or the lesson of the story, what the author wants you to learn. It's the overall big picture of the story. After you've read a story, an author is going to want you to take away something from that story. This theme is something that you can go and share with anyone, and they should be able to relate to it. Now, I know that it's been a while since we were actually in a classroom, so I want to show you guys a video that talks a little bit more about themes, okay? As the video is playing, make sure that you're paying attention to it.
What is theme? Theme is the lesson the author wants us to learn from the story. Themes tell us what we should or should not do for happiness and success in our own lives. But how do we find this elusive theme? Well, observe what the characters in a story say and do. Pay very, very close attention. And afterwards, ask yourself, what were the consequences of those actions? Some consequences are good, and some consequences are bad. That will lead you towards the theme of the story. So let's see an example using a familiar fairy tale. But first, a few ground rules about themes. Themes are a complete sentence, always, never with just one word. And themes never contain character names, not ever. A theme is true for everyone. Young and old, rich or poor, black or white, doesn't matter. If it doesn't, it's not true. But back to Cinderella. So let's look at this story first. Let's get started. We have a beautiful girl, sweet, charming, but being treated like a slave. We have a stepmother and stepsisters. All three very, very good. Very good. We have a prince. Yowza. We have a bald axe the beautiful girl wants to go to. We have the wicked stepmother and stepsisters trying to stop her at every turn. We have a fairy godmother, ultimate hookup. See? So Cinderella gets to go to the ball and she meets the prince. Love at first sight, beautiful thing. She has to run away at midnight because everything's going to become unmagicked, and she leaves behind her glass slipper. The wicked stepmother tries to stop her from trying on the glass slipper and preventing her from becoming the actual wife of the prince. Surprise, surprise, it doesn't work. And when it's all said and done, Cinderella and the prince live happily ever after. Seems pretty simple, right? Wrong! Cinderella has lots of themes. I mean, they're all throughout the movie itself. Let's start with nothing is impossible with teamwork. It's a complete sentence. It can apply to anyone in any situation, and it contains no character name. Plus, I can back up this theme. In the movie, Cinderella's little mice friends and bird friends actually hook up together to make her a dress she can go to the ball. I mean, they're cutting the scissors, the little bluebirds are flying around. It's just teamwork out the wazoo. And the consequence is that a beautiful dress is made at the end. Nothing is impossible with teamwork. I mean, these are singing mice. They should be able to do this. And how about true love will always win in the end? Complete sentence, no character name, and can apply in every situation. So even though the wicked stepmother and the wicked stepsisters, who by the way are complete haters, tried to stop Cinderella at every point in turn, she still ended up with her one true love. True love will always win. Definitely true, complete sentence, no character name, and can apply to anyone. Long story short, these two haters died alone, probably eaten by their cat because they were so mean to Cinderella throughout the entire movie.
All right, you guys, we're going to pause there. I hope that allowed you guys to understand theme just a little bit better. So some of the stuff that we learned from the text, the theme is the message or the moral lesson that the author wants you to learn or take away from the story. We learned that themes have to be complete sentences and that they can relate to any situation, any person. It doesn't matter color, gender, any of those things, okay? So it's going to be the overall lesson that you take away from the story. All right, now back to our question. What do we think was a theme for My Louisiana Sky? Let's think about what happened in the story from the beginning to the end, okay? What lesson can we take away from all of that? What do you think the author wanted us to learn? All right, how about some days are going to be bad and you have to push through to those good days? Would that be an overall lesson that we can take from this story and share with anyone and they should be able to relate to it? Absolutely. Do we have evidence to support that? Absolutely. During this hurricane, this was some of the most dramatic time for Tiger. She didn't know what to do. She was confused. Her mom went out into the woods. She had to go find her. This was a bad day for her. But she was able to stay strong, push through, and at the end of the story, she was very, very happy. She was so happy that she found herself, that she was able to become the young girl that she always wanted to be. And she also appreciated the things around her even more. For example, her parents and Seder. At the beginning of the story, we know that she wanted to leave Seder and go visit her aunt, Dora Kay. And at the end of the story, Tiger is telling her aunt, Dora Kay, that she thinks she needs to stay in Seder and be close to her parents even more. All right, you guys, we're going to close. In this lesson, you determined how Tiger changed from the beginning of the story to the end of the story. And you also determined a theme of a complex text based on the language details and character changes. All right, I hope that you guys retain all of this information. I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and I'll see you for the next one. Have a great day.